difficulties. Peace and blessings, family. My name is Aubrey Muhammad, and I'm glad you could join me today, week one of my Facebook live stream update for my campaign for mayor of the Village of Hempstead. Now this week I'll be covering one of the platform points of full representation, because I truly believe we haven't been represented fully. Outside interests, as the planners, the corporate bankers, and those developers, they have been given favors, and they have been, our local officials have been beholden to them. And the residents' interests, we've been put second. And mainly, really, our interests get put to the forefront if we protest, or we demand, or we rally, or if there's an outrage. And that shouldn't be. It should be an organic, natural representation of us. That's why we put our officials in office, because you represent us. We are the people. And mainly, one of the key giveaways is the lack of transparency. You know, if you go, and also family, if you have any questions, you can chime in and ask me your question, especially in regards to full representation, but depending on the time, I'll cover questions. And also, there has been technical difficulty on the cast, and I would hope everyone will please let me know if there is, because we know how that goes sometimes. But it's been the lack of transparency. What are we hiding? If you go to the website Reclaim New York, and I'll put that, after I finish, I'll put that link in the bottom. It's called Reclaim New York. They're a nonprofit organization, and in the state of New York, especially on Long Island, they've asked for the 2015, basically the checkbook, the finances of what goes on within the municipalities is 200 something in Nassau and Suffolk County. They asked for that data, and by law we have to provide it as a government entity. And 30 entities did not comply, didn't even respond. And the Village of Hempstead is on that list. What are we hiding? Mainly it's favors. What are we giving? Nepotism, on backdoor deals, under the table deals. It's obviously going on, because it's clear with the current development in the community is basically catering to outsiders. That's millennials, 3,500 millennials being invited to the village to contribute what? The people, the hostel students don't contribute much to the community. They're already here. They party and this stuff, and very little community involvement except for cleaning up maybe once a year. That's the Hofstra, Malloy, and Adelphi students. They may be good students for those schools, but their value towards this community is their contribution is very little. They don't value us that much. And we should not be catering to the graduates in this Master Development Agreement. The Renaissance Development is really a core element of gentrification of the Village of Hempstead, which I'll speak on actually next week. I'll be covering gentrification, and that development deal is the main core, and how it must be renegotiated to benefit the current residents. No one wants to develop us. The key, they're raising our taxes to move us out, and I think that's very insulting that our politicians will cater to that. Every once in a while, we will have a politician who will stand up for, a local politician who will stand up for us and resist it, but it's a rare occasion. It should be the norm that we as representatives, as officials, we defend our people, and we actually champion them. If we're leaders, we claim to be leaders. So if there are any questions you have, please get in. I did have to see a question earlier. That was from, let me make sure I get it right. It was one of those text questions in regards to development. Yes, that was Anna. And it was a Facebook Live campaign question. Hello, you offer full representation. Why aren't you being represented now? Well, basically, because you gotta understand, and 90% of politicians, that's even in American politics, 90% of politicians, especially black politicians and indigenous Latina politicians, our politicians, they aren't truly representative of us. Most of their decision to get into public office is a career move. It's a career decision. It's a personal ambition. See, it's an ulterior motive, so their heart isn't in it. Most politicians, really, they have to go through the motions and of being community activists. One of the requirements of them is that, oh, I volunteered for this, I did that. But that's not what they were doing. You see, a true representative is active in the community, and our activism, we strive to get results, and we look out for the interests of others who don't have a voice, who don't have influence, who don't have money. We just can't take advantage of people just because, and discard them, and disregard them, because we feel they're powerless, they don't have the influence. Until we unite and show our outrage, then you know our unity. So this career politician, they just go through the motions, and they make all the right sounding words, so they sound and look like they represent us. But they truly don't. It's a personal ambition. So now they're beholden. What is your personal ambition? That's not for the people. You're not sacrificing. You're not getting in the mud. You're not getting your hands dirty. You're not getting on your knees to lift the person up next to you. It's showboating mainly, but personal goals and aims and favors. And once you're beholden to a person for favors, they have you, especially if you're in debt to them. Or if that person have dirt on you, or you're doing the underhanded things, and people know they hold it against you and leverage it against you in politics. So now we have local politics, so they're looking for favors. Nobody's been paying attention, most of the issues really don't get light until it affects us, hits us in the pocket, or it's a tragedy, an outright tragedy where we'll get outraged and we'll protest and then put light on it. Then a politician will appear and say, oh, I'm with this issue. I think it's sad, and I think we really need to, all across the country, we need to start supporting activists, people who are embedded, ingrained, grew up, and have a true interest and love for the community that they come from should represent us. And it should never be corporate interest of someone that they raise. They select people before we elect them, and then they turn them against us. I mean, it's crystal clear. What are we hiding? Go to reclaimnewyork.org. I'll put the link down after the webcast, and you'll see that there are municipalities on Long Island that by law have to show the checkbook of what's going on in the village, town, school boards. All of them got that request. Only 30 just ignored the request. And I mean, until they would abide by it if we put pressure on them. We came by the hundreds and protest. Then these local politicians would do it. So that's the answer to the question in regards to representation. Most people don't have principles like that. They go by whoever's paying the most, whoever has more influence, or how it would look. It's sort of like too painful for people to take a stand. When you stand up against something, if it's not popular, everybody wants acceptance, everybody wants approval and stuff, but some things we have to take a stand for that's difficult. And one of the, let me say about the gentrification, and that's basically, gentrification is rough because it takes current residents and it literally undermines them. Make it undesirable to live in a place so that we would move out and then others would move in and invest. Private investors take that money and resources and put it in for others, and then have the current residents subsidize the act. Is very insulting. And we resisted and we rejected. The investment must be in us. Actually, we need youth, development, we need schools. In our schools, the current state is not, the students are not inspired. They have no heritage base, they have nothing to look up to. And that's one of the problems with gentrification. It keeps you nomadic. You don't settle down. You don't, generation after generation, be in a neighborhood the way you would develop a strong bond and pass down generational wealth that you can invest in yourself. And you have something to stand up, and you have a stake to have something to stand up for. And that becomes a difficult person, and that's why a difficult society, a difficult neighborhood to control. by bankers and corporate interests. And that's who is planning the gentrification. And it's mainly in black neighborhoods. Gentrification in poor black neighborhoods where concentrated poverty is present is where they gentrify. And it's a pattern. It's been going on since the turn of the century. And I will, but it's stepped up after World War II, but it's been going on since the turn of the century. And I will cover it fully next week. Now, let me see if there are any other questions in regards to that. Okay, yeah, I see the live. The stream is still going live, so that's good. Now, family, our representatives, you know, that's not only in public office, but in all of the state government. Most of that representation should come locally. You know, that's police, that's firefighters, and that's even education. I grew up right here in Hempstead. In the 70s, I went to Prospect School and watched it close about 10 years ago. And the teachers, we knew all the teachers there. That was Miss Gadsby, Miss Satt, Mrs. Norman, and Mr. Bullock, Mr. Curry. And a lot of those teachers, we respected them as our parents. They had the clout. Back then in the 70s, the public school teachers literally had the clout as family. They could look at you a certain way, and you would get straight and abide by them. And it was a very close a bond. Now, you know, we're going through the motions. A lot of teachers, you know, teachers mean well. Teachers is an awesome profession. That's developing for the future. That's investing in you. But that representation got to come local. We need to know the people that we're going to school. I used to go play in the summer over at Miss Norman's house. Over that summer, going out, play at the teacher's house, playing. Me and Vincent would go visit the family over there. And once you have teachers, police, and most of our representatives and the public servants from the community, it's a lot better. It's a lot, you know, it's less friction, it's a lot less conflict, and we can at least relate more to each other, you know. And in that relationship, you know what to expect. See, but when we're beholden to outside interests, you know, you have to inspect, you have to dig in deep and force people, fight, protest, and that's the problem with this outside representation. That must come to an end. We will never get our foot down. We will never be rooted to invest in ourselves and pass down generational wealth if we keep putting up, if we keep going to sleep. It's a very high level of apathy while we don't vote anyway, and the people we do vote for, they say the right things. The people we put in office, and then once we get in office, the people we hire around us, what are our motives? You know, what is their heart? What is their commitment to the village? I think many things ought to be done like that. You know, you need to be asked and questioned and vetted about your intentions before we do things. I don't think we should wait until then it's a crisis, things happen, things go bad, we have to get outraged, then we have to protest and have major rallies just to see how we can correct the things. We got to turn towards ourselves. And let me say about the representation, especially in the police. When you're dealing with the police, I mean, back in the 70s, even the outside of it, back in the 70s, now I was a youngster, I was out on the street in the 80s, out in Hempstead, I was all over Hempstead. In the 70s. I mean, that's right, from 79 to about 87, I was in the street, unguided youth, out on my own. You know, we were out there, we pulled together because we didn't have father figures, many of us, you know, and we teamed together because we were being shown love. We just formed little cliques, little crews, and they were literally gangs back then, but they weren't as violent. They weren't as violent as today because we didn't have access. We had access to a gun, over 29 Jackson shotgun. We didn't go running around with guns and stuff, but if we got into a beef, if it got to, you know, if it got real hard, you know, in defense of the home, if something came towards a house, that shotgun would come out of a house. A black Hempstead, many people had guns in the house for protection that they never used, and every once in a while would use on each other. But as youth, now we out in the street, and a lot of the police officers were from outside the community. But one thing about Hempstead in the early 80s, this was before crack and it was a real crime crisis, got real bad in the later 80s and stuff out on the street. But that early 80s, when we were young, getting in trouble and stuff, even the outsider police, at least they knew us. At least they knew some of the youth. Now, some of them knowing us, it was a bad motive. I remember some of those detectives, they knew our name and address. Those of us who were getting in so-called trouble, they knew our names and stuff. And at least there wasn't that outright abuse, but there was a more community base. It wasn't that much as disrespect, towards the police. And the current police force of Hempstead, it's not bad. It's not a bad police force. It's not a good relationship, though. The relationship is more like an occupying force. It's distrust. Come on, please. You're getting cooperation with this so-called see something, say something. To who? To what? They aren't involved. They don't come from the community. They don't know us. They're not involved with us. They're really not protected. They're more like, even back then, they even had a theme that they were fighting crime. It was something in the police the way they really believed it. Now it's more like us against them. It's this militarized, a lot of them coming from the military. A lot of police officers back in the days, they were going to school and stuff, to college, some police officers, many were involved in business and other things in the community, had vested interest in the community. In many communities across Long Island. Now it's more like this gung-ho, and I'm not saying in the Village of Hempstead, it's not bad. We haven't had many instances of brutality, but the relationship and arrogance of I'm this outside superior force, you serve me, instead of them being public servants. Police are public servants to protect and serve us, the interests of the village. And why are they why do they have that attitude? Because the local representatives basically are beholden to outside interests. So when your chief is telling you, the chief operating officer of the village is basically beholden to outside interests and rubber stamping, all of the development that isn't for our permanent long-range interest, but for temporary, what it looks like benefits, you're going to carry that spirit. People carry on the spirit from the top down. And the problem is, when we get into these offices and positions, it got to come from the bottom up. We have to get to those that are not involved. And there's an issue with that also. We have to be careful with full representation, just with familiarity. Familiarity breeds contempt and corruption. And nepotism is a problem just because the person's tight with you. You know them. That was one of the problems they had with those early walking the beat cops in New York City, with Little Italy and Irish neighborhoods and stuff. They had to rotate them around to different neighborhoods because naturally, if you come from a neighborhood and you're walking through, you're going to let too much corruption slide. You let too many things slide. And a police officer, you do need an element who is neutral, who can give an element, not the whole base. You don't have this us against them. You do need an element looking at a community with a neutral, with a neutral state of mind that can be fair and judgmental in dealing with bringing about public safety. But today it's just too lopsided. It's way too militarized, and it's very arrogant. That you serve me, you do as I say. Come on, please. You serve the people. Find out. Where's the tolerance? Where's the patience? Where's the helping a person through to make everyone safe? And basically, you have to know the people. You got to come out the car and you have to walk the beat. And they have to be rotated because you don't want corruption to set in. Family members and stuff, they will do favors and let things go, and that's not fair. Everyone sees that. When everyone sees that, it's outrage. Change have to come from that. Let me just check to see if anyone else has any questions. I know it's a late Sunday. We got started late because of technical difficulties here. Okay, that live stream, it's been 21 minutes. I'll go 10 more minutes, basically. And the representation let me see about the Reclaim New York. They're asking for a lot of information in that checkbook for the village, and basically we have ignored them up to now. I'm going to work with them. I'm going to work with organizations. When I say transparency, I'm talking about major projects that the village is facing. The major development going on in the village. Yeah, excuse me a moment. The major development going on in the village, that have to be presented to the village. We need a public forum where the village can assess how is this beneficial to us, short term and long range. Then we need different models. We need like 3 different models of development. A large model that currently is planned. Then we need a mid-sized model, then a smaller model. Some with a mix in it, some retail, more to benefit the industrial transit position of the hub being in the center of Nassau County. So we can, with those 3 different models, the residents get to look to say how, and we have planners, and we have developers, and we have architects come out and make those 3 different models, and let the residents sit down and decide and assess each model and to see which one is best, and let everyone present their presentation, and mainly the investment in the community, because this current model is not investment, it's mainly for outsiders, you know, and we always get the short end of the stick. They dangle these carrots in front of our face, or you get these job years, you know, when it's not even careers, it's just temporary construction jobs, painting and other things. Once the development is built, we don't have a job. But development is there for others who really aren't investing in the community, and they're taking their resources outside the community. So we're looking for long-range investment in us, and we need help. Where's the investors in us? Investing in youth centers, parks, and training centers. We need massive retraining. We actually need a reconnection of our minds to our souls. We suffering like from post-Black America, I'm talking about, and indigenous Latina. We are mainly suffering from post-traumatic slavery syndrome. Post-traumatic slavery syndrome, where those effects from that abuse and that indoctrination under white supremacy that mainly inferiorized us, that's still in us. That has to be dealt with. It's never, I mean, that should be on a national level as a crisis. But it's not, because they feel we're inferior. We're always a scapegoat in this nation. You know, people that they feel that you can just come up with statistics and place us in a group and say, oh, they're performing less, so they don't deserve this much. They don't have these such high scores. They're always the lowest category. They're always at the bottom. They're painted bad. They got every bad description for us. And so they feel justified in mistreating us. So that needs to change. We need investment in ourselves and developing the heart, mind, and soul, and develop our communities. Now, Marigos is supporting, the comptroller Marigos is supporting transparency in New York, Reclaim New York. He's supporting that. If you'd like the mayor, I would support that, because we need transparency. I mean, what are you hiding? I think that the problem in our village is our apathy. Most people, especially this last election, most people went one-sided with Hillary or Trump, but most of the youth didn't even vote. I'm walking around campaigning in Hempstead. People aren't even registered to vote. I have to register them to vote because they're so, you know, they're just uninspired, and they're so dissatisfied. Everybody, you know, they really don't. We really have not put forth anything before them that will motivate them to get them to do for ourselves. Now, this campaign, I absolutely need your support, family. I'll put down, I have to put down a link for the Reclaim New York, but also I'll be putting down a link for campaign contributions. If you could help us out, I truly would appreciate it, because I truly want to represent you, and I'm here, I'm authentic, I'm from the community, and I'm here to represent us, and I will champion our cause. You can give a donation of $100 to $500, it's appreciated. If you can give $10, it's more than appreciated, because your spirit is what we need. We need unity in the community to make things happen. I'll put my website and my link in my post office box if you want to mail a check or money order. Now, I look forward to seeing you later in the week. I'll be going through the communities, and I'll be meeting with us mainly at, I was at 600 Fulton, so I'll be on Terrace, I'll be on Parkside, I'll be all over the communities. I wish it was summer, we'd be at the parks and everything, and to do other things, but we know it's cold. But definitely look forward to the next update, the Facebook Live update. It will be, and if there's any questions, put them down now for next week, and I'd love to cover them as best as I can. And I look forward to meeting with you next week. And next week, I believe, will be development. That's the development in the community. That's for planning and development for businesses, living, and jobs and everything. So peace and blessings, family. Thank you for your time. Let me chime in here with anyone else. Okay, that was my sister Isis. She came in. So, family, I appreciate your time and your spirit. Many blessings to you. Peace.